Hey YouTubers, welcome back to Charlotte Honey Company. Today we are going to build a deep bee box. So if you remember in the last episode, I showed you guys how to build a table saw sled that we can utilize to build the deep bee boxes to make the finger joints. So let's actually build a bee box and we'll show you how that sled works, and I'll show you how easy it is to build your own bee boxes. So the first thing you're going to need for bee boxes, wood. Gotta have wood. Take 1 by 12, run it through the table saw at 9 5/8. Got table saw set up, 9 5/8. Let's get started on that. I'm going to rip these up. Be back in a minute. All right, we got our boards cut down to 9 5/8 wide. So now what we're going to do is we're going to cut the sides. So we're going to build a 10 frame deep bee box today. And those measurements are 19 7/8 on one side and 16 1/4 on the other. So we're going to look at our boards and we're going to look for any knots or anything like that. So this one is clear, no knots. So I know that's going to be a 19 7/8 piece. This one here is pretty good. I have one tight knot here and one here, but 19 7/8, I'll be able to cut this off. So I just draw a quick line now telling me that that's the side I want to cut off. Another perfectly clear one, so obviously that's a 19 7/8. And then we get this guy here. It's got couple knots in there, but I know that I can get 16 1/4 out of it, so I just make a line saying, hey, cut this side of the knot. First thing I want to do when I'm cutting is make a square edge. You get the factory cut and it's almost never square, especially if it's been sitting around, it'll shrink. So I want to put a clean cut here, and then I've got my stop block preset to 19 7/8, and all I have to do is make a clean cut, slide to the stop block, pop the saw down, and I got all right, we got our sides cut, 16 1/4, and I have another pile of 19 7/8 somewhere over here. Next step is to cut the handles in them. I do have a jig for this. I'll be honest, it took a while to figure out how to do that. Everything in woodworking is done with square tools. Like I spend countless hours adjusting my equipment and making sure that everything is perfectly square so I can, make nice boxes and miters, corners, angles, all that stuff. And then I start building bee boxes and they're like, hey, I know you spent all this time trying to figure out how to keep your stuff square, but we're going to need you to cut a slope in the wood using your squared up equipment. So I didn't have a clue. I had no clue how I was going to do that safely. So I went to YouTube, of course, and the internet, and I researched and I researched and I researched, and I saw a lot of ideas. To be honest, some of them weren't very safe, but I was able to pick little bits and pieces from those videos, and through trial and error, I came up with my jig, and it's similar to some of the ones out there, but it fits the way I do it, the way my saw works, and it's safe. I suppose anything's unsafe if you're not paying attention to what the heck you're doing. So I'm going to cut the handles in these bee boxes. This was kind of a fun thing for me because it took a while to get it figured out, and I've always been a guy that just I won't quit. I'll work my butt off until I figure out how it's done, and kind of reminds me of basically how I built this whole shop. I had no clue how to build a post frame building. I've done some framing in my life. I built garages and additions on houses, but I was never the general contractor or the architect or any of that. I was the guy swinging the hammer and cutting the wood. Kind of had an idea what I was doing. I probably could have built this studded wall and all that. Slapped some store-bought trusses on it and called it a day. But I wanted the post frame. Frankly, I thought I could handle it. The moral of the story is I didn't know how to do it, but I knew I could do it. I knew in my heart that I would be able to accomplish the task if I just set my mind to it. And kind of, the mini version with these handles, like I was clueless when I first started out, but I knew eventually I would figure it out. I just couldn't quit. I would just keep trying and trying and trying. And now it seems pretty simple now that I've got it built and I've cut hundreds of handles in bee boxes. But back then there was that little twinge up here of, like, should you be tackling this project? And like, hell yes, I should. I can do this. So if you're here and you're watching this channel, you obviously want to learn how to do something. Whether your main thing is to save money, or you really like woodworking, or you're just sad like I am that the art of using our hands to create things is a dying thing, and I like doing it. There's not a ton of money in it for me, but I enjoy building the boxes and working with wood and talking with customers. And if for me, that's all the money I need. As long as my heart's happy, I'll build bee boxes till the day I die. But again, if you're here, I can help walk you through some things, but stick to it. Don't give up. If you build your first bee box and it's a piece of crap, build another one. Even the piece of crap bee box, the bees are probably going to be okay with it. But as long as you keep at it and just keep chugging forward, you'll get better and better and better. And all these things of cutting handles and making box joints, it'll be like second nature, and you'll feel a sense of pride and accomplishment from that. And I'm telling you, there's really no price tag on that. So I'm glad you're here with me, and I'm glad you could come and build some bee boxes with me. And all right, enough jibber jabber. You're here to learn how to build bee boxes, not listen to some dope ran on and on. As promised, my handle jig. I told you it looks simple. My brain's not as fast as yours. Forgive me. Piece of plywood, stop, center line, slope board. If I remember correctly, this was 25 degrees. Essentially, all I do is take the board, lower it down onto the dado. That cuts the original groove. And I take and I put it on the edge, and I slide down the groove back to the fence. Simple as that. I told you that was easy. So now you're wondering, that's great. You cut the long sides. What about the short sides, dum-dum? Oh, yeah, we're going to need something right here, aren't we? Let me introduce you to the Deep Box Short Side Spacer. Patent pending. All we have to do is screw that on right there. Now I can run my 16¼ inch boards on there. Screw that down, and boom, we're in business. Now, I also have this set up for medium. So this here is a medium 10 frame short side spacer. This medium 10 frame fence spacer. So mediums are a little bit skinnier than deeps, right? So that's what I do, is I just put this next to the fence, shrinks my whole jig down, and then this spacer also coincides. So I can build mediums. All right, let's get our short side handles cut. As promised, our table saw sled in action. So now we have our sides. We got our handles cut. So now what we want to do is start cutting our box joints. So box joint jig is super simple. So the first cut we're going to make, we're going to slide our board right up to that key that we put in. We're going to make a cut, and then we're going to take the cut that we just made, and it's going to drop right over the key. It positions everything perfectly. Let me cut a sample, show you what you got to do to set the index for your box joints. When you cut the mating side will be the short side. With the boxes, I like to cut the long sides first. That gives me a solid tail on the very top. On the other one, short side, where we have the frame rest cut in on the inside of the box, will be a gap, and the long side piece, that full tab, will cover that end of that gap up. All right, let's cut this. Oh, wait a minute. One thing I forgot. When you're setting up your table saw sled, you want to lay your piece on there, and you want to raise your blade up so you're just barely poking above the top of the board. let's finally get to this, huh? Enough screwing around. There we have it, just like that. Nice fit, not too tight, not too loose. Good to go. Beautiful day out here today. Went out to check on the girls. Entrances are clean. A little bit of buzzing. Not quite warm enough for them to come out yet, but it just feels nice. It's so warm out. I'm just in my sweatshirt and yeah, I'm comfortable. So today is day 2 of the bee box. I had to quit last night. Had some friends come over, so didn't get the end stages of the bee boxes built. But today we're gonna cut the frame rest in the end panels, and then we're gonna glue it up, and that'll be a wrap on the bee box. So just thought I'd come outside, enjoy the weather a little bit, and chit chat with you. It's a beautiful day here in central lower Michigan. Spring is gonna be right around the corner. It's February 1st, but man, it's getting close, and the sun's a little higher in the sky, the days are a little longer, and I have a robin right behind the camera. We're getting there. I got to keep these girls fed and make sure they have enough food to make it till late March, early April, and then we're gonna go like gangbusters. So what do you say? Let's head on down to the shop and get that bee box finished up, because we're gonna be making splits here in 2 months, so we got to get going. All right, I'll meet you in the shop. Okay, we got our stack all cut, and now what we have to do is we have to cut this frame rest in. So you can see this rabbet that's cut along the top, and 5/8 of an inch down and 3/8 of an inch thick. So you set the dado stack up. We've already got it in there from when we cut the box joints. So we'll simply position our fence where we want it. Once I cut through these boards, then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get the box glued up. And guess what? I know. I have another jig for assembling bee boxes. It's super easy one. And I'll show you that. And if you'd like, I can show you how to build that too. That one's pretty easy. It's basically a bee box without all the fancy frills. So, all right, let me get these cut, and I'll get back to you in just a second. So as we're cutting these rabbets in the side, you want to make sure that the rabbet is cut on the upside of the box. It's really nice to have the handle in there as an indicator of what weighs up, even for cutting the box joints, and then also cutting the rabbet. So, all right, let's rip. All right, we got our sides cut. We got our rabbets cut in. Super quick, super easy. And we're done with the machinery. Now all we have to do is glue it up, and then we can paint it if we want to. You could paint it, you could stain it. Time for the glue up. So here's my little jig. It's just a box, and on the inside I've screwed in a couple boards so that you can take your end panels, slide them in nice and snug. You can do 2 at a time, 2 deeps, or you can fit 3 mediums in here. Just make sure you got your handles going the same way. Like that. I have my rubber mallet. Frame a little better maybe. I use a crown stapler. You can use nails, you can use screws. If you're going to use screws, make sure you pre-drill your holes. But once I glue this, and I use the Titebond 3. It's a waterproof glue, so I know it's not going to come apart when it rains. Hit it with a few crown staples, and then I have a few of these clamps. Get my sides, the end panels, the one that has the frame rest cut into it, and I got a little bit of glue here I want to burn up. The wet rag to wipe up the glue that squeezes out on the outside of the box, and you'll see what I mean here in just a second. So keep that handy. All right. Just burn up this little bit of glue here. All we have to do is take our sides, pop them in there like such. Try not to get glue on your fancy dancy lion sweatshirt. I'll grab these clamps. One there. So I like to get some good side pressure going. And then I'll take that rubber mallet. Make sure it's seated. You know, side pressure, when you pound it down, it'll stay. So the one thing I like to do when I'm using these crown staples is I like to run the staple with the grain. So the grain is coming across the board like this. So I'm going to run my staple that same direction. If I go this way, it tends to pinch the wood down in, and then I end up with a little bit of a bigger divot that can, you know, get water and whatnot in there from being outside. And I do fill it with a wood putty, but this just makes it a little bit easier. So I'll hit that. You don't want to nail that or staple that top one, because on the inside, that's where your frame rest is. And I'll show you in a second how we deal with that. So then I'll pop the clamps off. And I'll finish nailing down the top where the clamps were at. Here. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit the sides too. Again, I'm going to staple with the grain. If you do get like a spot where there's a knot in your box joint, just skip that. Don't try to run a staple or a screw or a nail through the knot. It's not going to work out. All right, and that's that. So then all I do is take these out of the box, out of the little jig I've built. Actually, what I like to do first is I wipe them down with that wet cloth. Get all the squeeze out off. Don't forget the inside. It likes to run down your frame rest too, so make sure you get that wiped up. This one's done. That's it. I'll get rid of this jig. I can literally bring it back and repeat the process. On the bottom side, I have that little notch there, so I'll go ahead and drive one in this way. Hold that tight. And then on the top, where we have this frame rest, so I can't just run a staple through there. It's going to poke out right here. So what I'll do is I'll run that in on an angle this way. And that way it doesn't hit or interfere in the frame rest area. Just like that. We're all stapled up and glued up. And we're going to get our hair square. Oh man, got lucky. It's actually square. Normally, if it's usually a little bit out of square, and I'll flip it up on the corner, and I'll give it a couple taps with a mallet, and then I'll check. This one is perfect right out of the gate. So there you go. One bee box, just like that. Well, what do you think? Good? It's not too hard. Pretty quick. All in all, I bet you start to finish, you can make a bee box in a couple hours. Throw some paint on it, you're good to go. Now, if you're going to buy stuff from, the big companies and you buy it unassembled, this last half of the stage you're going to have to do anyway. So, I mean, legit, if you have a table saw, you could make bee box. I can also make a video of, building bee boxes that don't have box joints. We can do it with just rabbets. The measurements are a little different. The box is way easier to build. You don't have to do the handles. I showed you earlier how you can tack the cleats on the side. But yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll do a video and I'll make a bee box, as simple as can be. And then I will show you another way that we can build, deeps and even mediums out of the cheaper wood. 1x12s are kind of expensive, but if you buy 1x6s and you glue them together and you make a panel, which let me show you. So this particular box is another one that I use in my own apiary, and you can see the seam here. So this was a smaller piece of wood, and I just added on, glue it up. The glue itself is stronger than the wood. So if I try to break this right now, if I just slam it right here on my bench, the glue line won't break. It's going to rip the fiber out of the wood next to the glue before the glue actually separates. So I have no issues making glued up panels for bee boxes. It's a little bit more time consuming, but if you're building for your own apiary and you have time, especially now the snow's out, the bees aren't flying, I've got all the time in the world, I can go to the big box store or the local lumber yard and I can buy skinnier pieces of wood and I'll rip them on the table saw and glue them up, and man, it works great and you save a ton of money that way. So yeah, again, another video I can do. Let's tell you what, if I'll go easy on you, 25 likes on this video, I will go through and build a bee box out of the smallest pieces of wood that I could buy at this store, which are probably going to be like 1x4s. and I'll do a cost analysis, and we'll actually see how much it costs to build the cheapest bee box I can build using store-bought material. Yeah, I could build one out of pallets too if I wanted to, but I don't know where the pallets have been. They could be soaked in chemicals or God knows what. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not a pallet guy. But then again, let's explore all the options. Let's see what we can do as far as the bee box building world. How cheap can we build our own bee boxes and still build a good box? We got to have quality. No sense doing things the wrong way. Hey, listen, thanks for watching. I really appreciate you guys, and I hope I could help you guys learn how to build your own bee boxes. And if you have any questions, anything you want me to hyper focus on, leave me a comment, and I can shoot a little video, maybe a short, and we'll cover in a little bit more detail exactly what you're looking for. So, hey, thanks again. It's a beautiful day at Charlotte Honey Company, and I will see you on the next